we go.
Mhm.
And what we'd like to do today, a little different, is when it is time for questions, if you could type into chat or raise your hand. We would like to allow people who are less comfortable raising their hand and being seen to have a means of asking questions. So that will be fine. But as most of you know, Chris and I work together to help people discover their power and know that they are God through self-love. And we do this with obviously people all over the world, and we do it with each other every single day because we are humans having a very grounded me. At the same time, can you hear me? Can people hear me? Okay. At the same time, we are all seeking to be all that we are. And today we're going to talk about something that is very dear to my heart, and it is living in truth. And it's a fascinating subject that Chris and I have explored for years and continue to discuss. And, you know, we have very excited conversations about, because what does truth really mean? You know, we can go and say, I don't lie, I don't tell lies. That's not what living in truth means. That is just being in the world, okay? The truth is how we live, not who we believe we are. And it's fascinating because we believe so much about ourselves and how we are in the world versus the truth of who we are, what our thoughts are, what our feelings are. And sometimes we choose not to acknowledge our true feelings about circumstances in our lives, about different situations, and we refuse to look at ourselves in absolute truth. We will condemn ourselves, we will criticize ourselves, but we will not love ourselves. And to live a life of truth means living fully in self-love and acknowledging everything, every part, every thought, every feeling, everything you experience. So I have some examples. So maybe some of you will understand differently. But Chris and I know people, many people, who are on individual, what they call spiritual paths. I put it in quotes because we're spiritual in every single moment of our lives. We don't have to be on a path to be spiritual. We are spiritual. That is a truth that a lot of us don't acknowledge. But these people are taking classes, doing meditations, doing all these things to experience what they call their higher self. Again, those of you who know us know that we don't believe in a higher self. We are self in all moments. But this is fine, and it is part of growth. So they have these experiences, they go to teachers, they go to wherever it is, they take classes, and they are spiritual in that place. Then they come, let's say, to work or to the supermarket or whatever it is, and they behave not so honorably. In other words, they say nasty things about others. They gossip. They, you know, they get angry very easily. And they hold on to that anger. They live two lives. They live the life of what they want to be, and they live the life of what they are. The real being in this is what they are is who they are. You cannot separate yourself and say, I will behave this way here and not here. Now, the interesting part of that is there is no self-awareness of this. We are as we are in the world, and we don't generally step back and recognize that whether you're speaking to your child, your partner, a stranger, the person in the supermarket who's ringing you up. These are all equal beings, just as you are, and we treat them all the same. I know that I know many people who look down on different types of employment, as an example. The garbage man does not deserve the same respect as the doctor. That is an untruth. Living in truth is an acknowledgement that everyone is yourself. Everyone is equal to you in all ways. And most importantly, when you love yourself, when you experience absolute true self-love, you love everybody as you love yourself. There's a lot in this conversation about all of this, but who are we in the world? Each of us being different in our own experiences, but at the same time, all being the same, having the same lives and the same struggles and the same joys and the same glorious experiences. But what we do is we diminish ourselves. And until we experience and acknowledge the magic of being in self-love, I love all that I am, you accept what you would call your flaws. And all your flaws are ways to learn and grow and change and make new choices. We have to choose to experience the magnificence of everything that we are, including the limitations that we put upon ourselves based on society and based on the environment and based on the way we were taught, the way we grew up, whatever the limitations were, and let that go and really be in truth and listen to yourself as you speak about who you are in this world. And as you speak of yourself, you're speaking of all people around you. Chris.
You know, this topic gets at the root of the fundamental teaching that each of us is God. And that is the most powerful teaching. The only truth on earth is that each of you are God. And each of you as God are perfect as you are. The topic that Marilyn is referring to is about how we struggle because we hold in our hearts this notion of God as somehow greater than we are by its very nature of what we think of as divine. So God is all loving, God is all powerful, God is all knowing, God is all these omni things that we want to be, or we relate to as something outside of ourselves, some greater presence, some universal energy, something more powerful than we are. And when we look at ourselves, as Marilyn is saying, and we see things like anger, and we see things like pain, and we see things like jealousy, or we have acts that our social contract deems are bad. So we steal something, or we pick a term for another person that is hurtful. When we see those things, that is the point at which we separate from ourselves as God. And we struggle to acknowledge those experiences of ourselves, our anger, our pain, our hatred, our whatever it might be. We so struggle because we judge those things as less. And we say to ourselves, those things, those aspects of experience could not be God. They could not be perfect. And so we We separate and we do not accept those experiences. And that's what Marilyn's talking about. Marilyn's talking about what happens to us when we look through the eyes of truth at ourselves and our moments in our lives where we made choices where we would go, oh God, I wish I hadn't said that, or I wish I hadn't done that, or I wish I wasn't like that, or I can't believe I'm angry. And what we're talking about here in teaching you self-love and the power of self-love and the power of acceptance of yourself as perfect as God is the acceptance of all that you are. Because it is all of God. The challenge of this suddenly becomes, if that is all of God, then I have to give up the notion that there's something better than I am out there. There's something greater that I can aspire to be. And at the same time, as you recognize that moment, you need to take responsibility then for all those experiences that you're struggling to accept as of God, of you. Your anger, your words, your lack, whatever it might be. And this is where we have these moments where we wish to hold on to something greater that will take care of everything for us, that will make it all better. And I remember in the early years for Marilyn and I of working together, when I began to share this with Marilyn, and Marilyn struggled with wanting to, in her most challenged moments, wanting to reach out to God and yell. Mary, you can talk about this in a moment, and yell to God to help her. Because at this bridge of acceptance of yourself as perfect as God, you no longer reach out. Instead, you embrace. And so what we're talking about is the power of, with your truth, looking at each of the choices and each of the manifestations of your life. And one of those manifestations might have been something society deems as less, like a theft or going to jail or whatever it might be. And what we're talking about here is embracing it as a momentary choice of learning, perfectly learning, what does it mean that you are God? Because that is our path on of our souls to even enter into a physical lifetime. For each of us is to learn that we, as we are in each moment, are that all-powerful, all-knowing being that chooses our experience. And the release of any experience of pain is the acceptance of it. The embrace that you made a choice as God to learn through that experience, whatever it might be. And when you give yourself that embrace in the truth that it was your choice, and that yes, you felt enraged about someone or something, and you are God even in that rage. Now I'll share one more thing that I find so fascinating. We on earth, there are many religious traditions that believe we're made in the image of God, but that somehow we corrupt it as human beings. And I find it so fascinating that we believe we are powerful enough to corrupt that which is of God, that image of God that we're made of. We're powerful enough to do that. But somehow we're not God. And so I encourage all of you to realize it is your power. And it is not that you corrupted it. It's that in a moment of choice, you chose to learn in a certain way. And it's totally fine. It is the power you have, but the power you have also is to change the choice. So what we bring forward to you today is not easy, because in our world, we have so many judgments about good, bad, better, worse, that somehow it's bad to be angry sometimes, and it's bad to have feelings about certain things. That's where our society is, because we hold this sense of right or wrong, bad or worse, good or bad. This person's closer to God, this person's not. And the truth is, the hardest part of my book, The Simple Truth About God, for people is that Hitler is and was God. The greatest despots in our world are God. It is not easy to accept that, but it doesn't matter. The Dalai Lama, a great despot, a dictator, we are all the essence of all that we are in every moment, and we make choices about how we will experience that. And so today, we bring forward to you to hold the mirror of your truth before yourselves and embrace everything you see with love. Embrace it with love, and know that in some moment you made that choice, and now in this moment, as you embrace it with love, you can release your painful separation from it.
I do want to share an exercise with everyone that you can do to uncover for yourself your truth. I want you each to spend some time, if you would, and think about 5 secrets that you hold within your heart. Things about yourself that you may not want to share with someone else. Usually we hold things because we're ashamed, we're embarrassed, we don't want anyone to know the truth about who we are. You may or may not even be aware of them, but the secrets that you hold, you're usually aware of. And find somebody to talk to and say, I want to tell you this about my life, or about myself, or about the way I'm feeling. You know, we live at a time where there's so much happening in the world, and we all have a lot of feelings about it. All the movements and the pandemic and everything. But let's go to a different level. Let's go within and talk about who you really are. Chris and I have spent years challenging each other when she would say to me, for example, how are you today? And I'd say, I'm fine. I wasn't fine. And she kept pushing and pushing and pushing until I would admit whatever it was that was upon my heart at that time. It could have been about the way I feel about my body. It could have been about my marriage. It could have been about, I was thinking a thought about one of my children, and I was trying to hide that, because within myself, I don't want the world to know my problems and my pains, right? We try to protect everyone outside of ourselves, but we're not working to clear our own hearts of the heaviness, of the burdens that we choose to carry. And I urge you to find a partner who, and it doesn't have to be your spouse, a very close friend, a sibling, somebody whom you feel you can say speak your truth to without them either becoming defensive or thinking it's about them. Just a neutral person that you can really talk to. And as you begin to unburden, things begin to change. You feel better. You feel healthier. You sleep better. There are so many things that happen because you're finally sharing the truth of everything that you are in your life. And that is important. Your life matters. I can't believe I'm saying those words, but your life matters. Are there any questions? We could talk about this for a long time. This is a very huge topic because we do live in a society where we keep secrets about ourselves, about what we're thinking. You come across a person who has different beliefs than you have, as an example, and you don't want them to feel bad. And they're free to share with you everything that they believe. You have a choice. Do you stay silent so that you're polite and you don't have any confrontation? Or do you speak? And how do you speak is very important. You know, we live in a challenging time of politics in the world and of course the illness. And we're being asked a question, is there greater energy? Hold on. Chris, do you see the chat?
Nope.
Is there greater energy or power or helpers other than just ourselves? All right, that's a huge one. You are all of your own helpers. You are your own power. Believe me, I went through a lot to come to that realization. It is challenging to feel all of a sudden, and I remember, as Chris referred earlier, I used to stand in the middle of my bedroom and just, God, help me, you know, and I was just like, I need help. And when we discovered everything is in here, there is nothing out here, we're in here, I felt lost. I felt so alone, but it passed, it did pass. And I realized that all I could do was talk to myself and acknowledge to myself what it was that I needed and then take the steps necessary to move forward. But is there an energy or power? The energy of all is still in here. Imagine your body is filled with cells. And every cell is equal, just as an imaginary thing, to a life form, just like the earth, right? You are the greater power, but you wouldn't exist without each individual cell putting forth what it is putting forth. There is no greater power because you wouldn't exist without each individual part of you. It's like you are your own universe. There is nothing beyond that. It is right here. And I do apologize. It is a huge concept and it is a challenging one. And we can continue to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Are there other questions? Yes, Lasya.
Yeah. Hi. So this is something that is very new to me. So I'm just trying to understand it better. If we already think of ourselves as an equivalent to God, we have certain innate characteristics in ourselves that we are not very happy with, right? So we tend to go in a slump where we kind of tend to self-critique ourselves and try to get better. So how do we embrace the truth more consciously? Because it doesn't come very easily, right? Like you said, it's a big concept. How do we do it consciously apart from just, is there some kind of way to do it?
Chris, this is yours.
Yeah, I mean, one of the earlier sessions we talked about a tool, which I call the giant eraser when I'm teaching people. And that is that as God, any thought we have, any choice we make exists eternally until we choose to change that choice. And the only way to release any choice, any thought that you have made as God is to embrace it with love, release it, and then I always encourage people to make a new choice. So similarly here, if you allow yourself to peacefully stand before each moment of your life and to be peaceful in standing in front of it. In other words, if you are feeling anger, don't try to deny it. Allow yourself to just stand there and acknowledge it. That's what I mean. Stand peacefully before this moment that you're feeling happening through your being. You're feeling angry. And then as you do that, acknowledge, I'm feeling angry. I feel the anger that I am. And then make the choice, because you acknowledge it as God. I acknowledge as God that I feel angry about this. But in this moment, I'm going to choose to learn from it, because it's trying to teach you something, right? Your heart is trying to teach you. And then I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to let it go. So the first thing you do by acknowledging it is you embrace the choice as God with love. You made that choice, then you release it. And you choose to learn from it because it's trying to teach you. And then usually what I teach people is make a new choice as God. So whatever's going on, I often tell people, find some way of making, like I used to, I realized early on in this process that what it meant to be God is I would be choosing my joy, but I could also choose pain. That's fundamentally the choice we have as God. So I realized I like to learn through joy better. So what I did with the giant eraser, the 3-step process, is I came up with a statement at the end, and I'd say, after I let go of a choice, I'd say, and from this moment forward, I choose to learn through balance and joy. Because I love joy. It's really fun. I love to learn that way. And when I was younger, I chose to learn through pain. It was very painful. So through joy and balance, because this was all coming to me at a time when I realized I was here on earth to share this message with people. And I had 2 young children, but I wanted the experience of being a mother. I wanted the experience of working in the world. So I said in balance. I didn't want it all to explode on me in a way that was out of balance. So then I just made that choice over and over, changing my choice. So that is it. It's the embrace with love, the truth that you see, let it go, and just make a new choice of how you want to learn. Because that's all you're doing, whether it's with anger or it's with joy. It's how you are choosing to learn about what does it mean to be God, that there's no separation between you and God.
You know, there's another way to look at emotions quickly. When we are angry, there's an opportunity to make a choice to take action in our lives because we're angry about something, or whether it's within or without, it doesn't matter. We're angry. What are we going to do to make a change in our world? And I mean, in each of our individual worlds. If we're sad, it's just a sign that there's something in your world that is not bringing you joy. What is it that you need to do to make the change to release that sadness? You use the 3-step process, but when you meditate or when you are in a place of peace, ask, okay, what can I do to help myself keep moving back to that joy? Love should exist even in the anger, even in the sadness. Self-love is always, but the opportunity to propel ourselves to make new choices is really what we are hearing through the emotion that we feel stuck in. All right, time for a meditation. Any final questions?
I think in the chat, Mara, can you see?
I see a thank you. Thank you, Lasya. All right, that's all I see.
I have one doubt. How do we keep our mind clear? Sometimes unnecessary thoughts are coming. How to clear our mind?
Very much the same thing. So that's a good question. You know, what you will find is the more you use acceptance of those thoughts rather than separation from the thoughts, trying to put them away, trying to put them in a box someplace, the more you use acceptance of them, they'll quiet and quiet and quiet down. And it can take over a long period of time, because just think of how many years you have been filling yourself with choices of thoughts of criticism of yourself or lack or whatever. So it takes time, and you have to commit to yourself that every time that thought comes up, oh, I embrace that thought with love. I'm going to release that thought, and I choose to learn through balance and joy or whatever it is you choose. So just, that's very important. As those thoughts come up, embrace them with love, release them, embrace them with love, release them. And commit to yourself this kind of love that is every day, every moment. That is the absolute joy of being alive, and being God is being present to every moment, whether it's those thoughts in your mind or the person saying something to you or just something happening in your world. That is being God. That is of life, and engaging with love with each of those moments.
And also, when we sit in meditation, sometimes we have a hard time coming into that centered place, and thoughts keep coming in. A trick that I learned was I always had a piece of paper and a pen next to me. And if something kept coming in and it wasn't allowing me to release it, I would write it down and tell my heart, I will take care of you later. Right now, I want to be here. And just having it on the paper, just by putting it on a piece of paper, you're telling yourself, I will not forget this that I am working with, that I have to take care of, whatever it is. And it allows you to come to a place of peace. It's like trying to fall asleep at night and you have all these thoughts in your head. A piece of paper, and you just make a list, and then you're like, done. I'll see it in the morning, I'll deal with it then. So it does bring peace to share that. All right, we do have to start the meditation. So I'm going to ask each of you to make yourselves comfortable. If you have a beverage, have a sip, and then just relax. All right, so I'm going to ask you to keep your eyes closed and inhale deeply and hold it for as long as you can, and then release it when you're ready, long and slow. And again, inhale deeply, hold it, feel it leave your body as you release it, the power of your breath, letting go. And one more time, take a deep breath in and hold it for as long as you can. And then let it go when you're ready. And I ask each of you to imagine that you are lying on a beautiful white sand beach. I want you to feel your body lying upon the warm sand. And I want you to know where you are. You hear the waves as they crash against the shore. You hear the birds flying overhead, the seagulls. And there's a warm breeze that flows over you. And as you inhale, your body gets heavier and heavier into the earth. And feel your connection to the earth. Feel the heaviness of your body as you are connecting with the earth in this beautiful, comfortable space. And as your body grows heavier, call forth your whole inner being to begin to rise. For your body is simply a vessel. Feel yourself rise above your body, slowly separating from the physical, while your body is at peace, safe in the sand, connected to the earth. Feel the grandness of yourself as you rise above your body. And in this magnificent grandness of all that you are, stand upon the beach and you see the vastness of the ocean that lies before you and the endlessness of the universe beyond. And look upon the body that is lying here on the sand. Look at its magnificence. Appreciate its perfection. For those of you who have a physical ailment, I call forth that you call your essence forward and touch that part of your body that you wish to heal, bringing it balance and bringing it the energy of healing in all moments. For those of you who have issues of your heart, lay your hand upon your own heart chakra as you lie here connected to the earth, and open your heart chakra and call forth great balance to the issues in the moment. And as you are looking upon the body that is lying upon the beach, bring thought to something you are holding within, perhaps a secret of how you feel, perhaps a feeling about someone else in your life, something you do not tend to share about yourself. And speak it out loud, obviously not here, but speak it out loud to the body that is lying upon the beach. Say the words, whether it is, I am unhappy with blank, or I feel that I am carrying something within that is not healthy, or whatever it is, but something you do not share. And I invite you in this space of being all that you are to look up and down and around and to let go of this secret as a secret. Release it from the energy of all that you are. Once again, place your hand upon the heart chakra of yourself as a physical being lying on the beach and tell your heart, this is truth and I will speak it. I would like you to each do this 5 times total. 4 more times. We harbor within our beings secrets. How we feel about a child, how we feel about a spouse, how we feel about where we live, how we feel about the circumstances of our jobs. Secrets that we smile and ignore, and we are afraid to speak. Here is your time to speak your truth. Speak to yourself. Do it with your mouth, out loud, in this safe space. Speak to the body and place your hand on the heart and tell it it is okay to share this. I hear you. Remember that as you speak to self, you speak to all. We don't hide secrets as well as we think. Those who are closest to us in love know who we are, and yet we are afraid. Let them in. I now ask each of you to think of one person that you are closest to in this world, and imagine them standing before you. And choose one of your secrets and share it. Share it in peace. Share it in self-acceptance. Share it without judgment or fear of judgment. And imagine how this person will respond. Feel the love that comes to you from this person. Feel the space that shrinks between the two of you. For you are sharing in absolute self-love, and there is nothing more powerful than that. And as self-love is shared, that is what connects you. Make a promise to yourself. Make a promise that in life you will have this conversation and you will share all of your secrets with this person or perhaps different people. And you will let them know who you are because you will discover who you are in truth. In truth. And there is nothing more powerful than truth that is self-love. And now it is time to return to your physical body. Feel yourself float above the physical body that is resting in such peace, connected to the earth. And once again, feel the perfection and the magnificence of who you are in this lifetime, in all lifetimes, represented by this physical body. And feel yourself sink back in. Sink back in slowly and feel the physical return. And I invite you to wiggle your fingers and toes and to become aware again of the earth beneath you and the sound of the waves and the birds and the breeze and the salty air. And let your body come back to this moment. Wiggle your fingers and toes to bring yourself back to an awareness of your home, your space, your perfection. And welcome back. And thank you all for making time. We could talk about truth for weeks, but we will continue to explore so many thoughts, so many sharings, and we're so happy to learn from you as well. Thank you for joining us, and I wish each of you namaste.